that was slightly embarrassing. Okay, we even turn that down. Hello. Hello. We're live. Oh, that was slightly embarrassing to have me on the ending soon screen as well, or me on the ending screen, and then also just kind of flashing. I don't know. This is kind of a scuffed stream to begin with. I got to do a thing real fast, just to kind of, there we go. Did that. Alright, so I think that's all, everything, or things are working. I don't know. It's been a week. It's been a week. Let's just say that. Lots of stuff I was doing, lots of busyness, and a whole bunch of fun news. Yeah, so that's what today's stream about. It's mostly a just chatting stream, and we're gonna just, have a conversation. I'm gonna talk about a few things and plans I have. This is not a very long stream, but it is a stream nonetheless, and I can see my internet slowly dying and killing itself. Hooray! Hooray! I love it when things break. Anyway, it's not a Hiita Kamui stream if something isn't breaking. Anyway, so where do I even begin? So I think we'll just start with the absolute bare bone basics, and that is Hasbro. We're starting off with Hasbro. So for those who are wondering what's happening on my channel and who happens to be, following D&D and anything like that, or tabletop RPGs in general, let me get you caught up real fast. So, yeah, Hasbro has decided that they are really going to go through and make D&D the next fortnight. That's pretty much the long and short answer of what's going on. Basically, they're going to, instead of publishing books for people to just buy and share and have fun, they're tripling down on the subscription side of things. So that means that if you're not, they're going to be releasing seasonal content for a subscription. So if you're not subscribed, you don't get the content. And that's like, oh, that's not really how D&D works. Oh, but okay, but I don't mind more D&D content, but why does it have to be under a subscription? Because books are overrated. That doesn't make any sense at all. Books are never overrated. It's nice to have a physical medium in front of you so you can look at it. What if you don't have access to the internet? Well, too bad. You're out of luck, because it's all on the internet. You gotta subscribe. Subscribe to get the content. And yeah, no, and then what's worst of all is that if you're not a subscriber, you don't get the content. And even if the dungeon master is is subscribed and has the content, you still don't have access to the content because you're not subscribed. So you need to subscribe to get the content. Otherwise, you don't have the content. And that is going to just destroy D&D, because let's face it, the economy sucks right now. I hate to get political, but the economy sucks right now. Sure, stock markets are doing fantastic. Good job, stock market. Who can afford to buy food and tabletop game stuff? I certainly could barely afford that. I'm more focused on actually, making money to pay off bills and things like that. And I am being very conscientious about what I actually spend money in. In fact, I've been doubling down on saving money for the future, for retirement and everything like that, because I'm in my midlife pretty much. I don't know if you can hear that, but Mother is watching baseball and she's super happy because apparently the Giants are doing very good. But I'm not going to close my door because it's too freaking hot. I have my fan on though. Oh, so I'm going to turn on the fan next to me too, because holy moly, it's hot. So if you hear a lot of fans in the background, it's hot. I live in a hot state because it's hot. Anyway, I'm just off the cuff right now, pretty much. There's no script. There's nothing. I'm probably going to, when this stream is done, I'm probably going to re-upload it as a video for probably this week. I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm not sure what I'm doing with this video. I know that I'm here, I'm chatting, I'm saying, hi, hope everyone's having a good day. Hope I can entertain you with my ranting real fast. Because apparently, hey, people love to hear people rant sometimes. I don't know. I like to watch Adam and Gold at times, so, well, that's just what it is. But the point I'm trying to make is that Hasbro and its greedy corporate nature is basically trying to triple down and really monetize Dungeons and Dragons so that, you know, they can make more money off of it, because that's what all companies want. They want money. Screw the fan base. Screw the players. Screw the people who actually buy our product. We just want your money. You're just money bags. Give us money. And as someone who works in retail as the primary job, and it's true, I do work in retail. I won't say where, because I want to keep my job. Because I need to pay bills and to pay for the hobby. Because, yeah, for me, unfortunately, live streaming is a hobby, and doing videos is a hobby, because I don't make enough money to just live on live stream and YouTube content alone. In fact, I don't even make any money off of YouTube yet. I don't have enough subscribers, so subscribe to the channel if you like to have money to pay for more stuff. I'll stop using AI stuff and actually pay artists for things I can use. Actually, no, okay, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, if I ever publish anything like for use of other people, or if I'm actually just, you know, trying to publish something, I'm going to pay for some people. That's just what I'm going to do. If I ever publish a book for my setting of Cestria, I'm going to pay artists, because I pay artists. That's what it's for. But at the end of the day, it's just, you know, everyone's in it for the money, and corporations tend to forget that, you know, without the players, without the people who buy your stuff, you don't have any money. Yeah, it's kind of a two-way street here. So in light of that, what does that mean going forward for me? I still am going to play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I'm still going to play D&D when I get the opportunity to play D&D. I'm going to DM Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm going to play the versions I want to play. I like 2014 D&D, but I can also go back and play 3.5 edition if I really want to. I have the Player's Handbook, I have the Dungeon Master's Guide, I have the Monster Manual. 3.5 Monster Manual is so brilliant, so beautiful. Man, I really should go back through and pick out some monsters from the old 3.5 handbook and just throw it at my players, because there's a lot of fun things. Like they took out the nymph monster in 2014 edition, and it's kind of sad because, you know, nymphs are fun to fight against. Also, the artwork is very seductive. Oh, back in the day when you could actually have risque stuff in your books, and it was lovely. Not anymore. Everything needs to be safe and friendly for, you know, the child that runs through here. Oh well, whatever. It's neither here nor there. But yeah, as far as the Tales from Cestria campaign, it's still going to be Dungeons and Dragons up until it ends. But in light of what Hasbro is doing and what Hasbro is trying to do, I am indeed pushing for the end of the campaign. Meaning, I have cut a lot of planned encounters and content for my players, because I want to get to the end of the campaign so I can, you know, focus on a different system. Because I cannot condone what Hasbro is doing to Dungeons and Dragons as a whole. It's kind of the same way that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro treated Critical Role. What did they didn't like what they were doing to the hobby and the game itself, so they made Daggerheart, and it's been a wild success for them. And that's kind of my goal too. For right now, I'm just calling it the Cestria system because I have no other name for it. But I'm in the process of starting to really plan out what exactly I want my system to be. And I can tell you right now, some of the plans that I have, because I've thoroughly thought about these things. Nothing's 100% flushed out. It's still work in progress. But I have decided that I want players to have a lot more creativity and agency when making characters. And I'm also a fan of dedicated play styles. So one of the things I've done is I've gotten rid of like individual classes and renamed what used to be like the class to be a what's known as a job or profession or or something like that. I'm calling them jobs for now. I think is that what I call them. I have the thing. Choose a job or a subclass. And this is where like the meat and potato of your characters truly lie. Is in what the subclass actually does for your character. So and again, when I get more flushed out information and flushed out content on it and able to actually go through after playtesting of these classes and sub jobs and everything like that, that's when I'll like do separate videos for them and get little fancy animations and things like that and do some fun like, hey, here we go, entertainment stuff. Right now this is just the blurb for future campaigns in the world of Cestria as a whole, generally speaking. But for now, how I have the system set up is that there are 4 classes actually in the game. You have your martial class, you have your mage class, you have your healer class, and then you have the supporter class. That's it. Those are the 4 classes that you play as a player. And it's not necessarily a donation of, oh, you're locked into this one build and everything. No, it's a play style. That's what the classes are. It's the play style you choose to go with. So if you want to be someone that goes into melee combat more often, you tend to be a martial character. You are the titular fighter. You're the frontline person. But being a martial also means that you may not be a frontline fighter. You may be a ranged fighter, fighting with ranged weapons and bows and arrows and crossbows and pistols and guns and all this other fun stuff. So that's what the martial is. I fight with weapons, and magic is not really my forte. Meanwhile, magic is my forte, but I can't really fight at close range. Doesn't mean that there aren't subclasses that will allow you to fight closer, but your primary playstyle is I'm going to throw fireball everywhere and blow things up and kill everyone in fire and brimstone. Anyway, so that's what the mage's job is. The mage's job is your spellcaster. They are the ones that focus on damage dealing spells and control, and like that's what your focus. That is your evocation wizard in a nutshell. That is the playstyle for them. Healer, self-explanatory. You are the healer of the group. Your skills and your healing abilities are boosted and benefit from being. Hang on, I'm gonna try something real fast. Webcam was that. Try changing the physics. No, physics is down to 30 FPS. I don't know, it feels like it's lagging on OBS, but that may be because I have some other things going on. I don't really know, but we'll have to see pretty much eventually when I do that. But not right now. We're not worrying about that right now. Anyway, so that's what the healer does. The healer is exactly that. You heal. Now, what does that mean to be a healer? Well, I have it so that you can be a healer, but you don't use magic. You're just like an apothecary, or you're a medical doctor. That's what you do. You heal, but your healing isn't necessarily through magic. It's through physical means of healing. And that's how I built the class. Of course, you could be the classic cleric, but if you look at like a lot of clerics in D&D and Pathfinder, they tend to be very aggressive, very upfront, heavy fighter people, or they use a lot of divine spells or divine casters, what they are. And then and then there's like the one healing domain, that's the one life domain cleric that their entire job is healing, and hardly anyone plays life domain anymore because the life domain is kind of boring. It's like, oh, what do? I heal you. Okay, what do I do now? I heal you more. There's nothing wrong. I love life clerics. Life clerics are the titular healer of the group. I love them. And then finally, the supporter class. This is your bard. This is your jack of all trades. They are the ones that hinder your opponent, hinder the foe, but aid the ally. That is what they do. So they could be a caster, they could be a martial, they could be off healer, but their job is to support the party, and they get a lot of, and they'll have like a lot of unique abilities to actually regain and gain control of the battlefield. That is what they do. They're the face of the group. They're the intimidation factor of the group. They are the trap master. They are the trap disabler. They're the stealthy person. They're the guy that does the distraction. That's what they do. They support the rest of the party as a whole. And that's that's it. That's the 4 classes. And again, they're not a limitation to what the character can do, but it's the play style that they go for. Because there's a number of times that, you look at, some people want to play, I want to play the summoner. I want to summon all the creatures. But when you get down to it, there's not many classes that can do summoning very well. Sure, you got the shepherd druid that can summon a whole bunch of animals, or you got the wizard summoner, or the warlock, the wizard necromancer that can do summoning and stuff like that, but there's no real summoner class. With a supporter, you could be the summoner class. With a mage, you could be a summoner. With a martial, technically, you could be a summoner too, if you wanted to. It might not be, summoning people, but you could, you just have a way to hire people, and there you go. You summoned an army because you hired them, and stuff like that. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be really trying to hash out and get working on. I think for now, my goal is to get early game planned out, which is levels 1 through 4. And I'm going to take a few pages out of D&D and Pathfinder, where levels 1 through 4 is kind of where you start getting into the meat and potato, where you kind of start getting into the meal. The first level, you just kind of get used to the play style of that class that you chose. You don't get much, but you get to kind of set the path that your character is going to go on at level 1. At level 2, you start getting, you get your first unique class type feature. So in the case of the martial, you choose your fighting style that you're actually pretty good at and everything. And so if you're going to be a range person, you choose the range option, or you're going to be a halberd polearm master, you choose polearm fighting styles and stuff like that. So you get to choose how you fight as a martial person. Third level, of course, that's when you finally get your subclass. That's when you get the first abilities of your subclass. This is where your character truly begins to become the character that you want it to be. And then finally, 4th level, I always like 4th level being the ability score increase, and you get a feat. Because, let's face it, who doesn't love a good feat? But I also like the ability to increase one's own stats, because if naturally, you're just, as you level up more, as you continue your adventure, you become stronger and stronger. So it makes sense that your ability score should naturally increase. And that's kind of the first 4 levels in a basic breakdown. But I still have a lot of work to do on what each class does. Right now, the only one I have planned out so far is the martial class. So As a martial, at the first level, you get to choose 2 weapon proficiencies, choose 2 armor proficiencies, and you gain access to the basic mana pool. Because I'm basing this on my world, and in Cestria, everyone can use magical items. Everyone can utilize some sort of magic in a system, and the mana pool is what you can actually do with it. That's kind of the crux of what it is at the end of the day. Now, martials don't get that large of a mana pool. They get like 10 mana points and everything like that, and they can use their, and then when they get to level 2, or when you utilize mana points, which again I haven't quite thought that far ahead yet. I'm getting there. I'm working on it very, very slowly. So many other things I'm trying to work on at the same time. It is ridiculous how much stuff is I'm putting myself through. But the point is that martials will have the lowest amount of mana in their pool, so they can't really cast spells because they're not spellcasters at the end of the day. Now, if you decide that you want to be like a fighter magic user, then yes, you'll get a bonus to your mana pool, so you have more options for spellcasting, but you're never going to have as much at level 3 than a mage or a healer, or a healer that's spellcasting focused, or a supporter that's spellcasting focused. A martial will never have that as much. But to keep martials from falling behind, they can utilize their mana pool to boost their own damage output or reduce the damage they take. Hey, that's the benefit of them having this mana pool. It's like, okay, I'm going to spend 5 mana points and increase my damage by 5. Right out of the gate, bam, just 5 flat damage as I use body strengthening magic to make my strike harder and more devastating. There we go. That's it. That's what you use it for. Because my goal is to not make... I want casters to feel like casters, mages to feel like they are mega mean and they can make things explode. But I also don't want martials to be left out of the run. So the easiest way of doing it is just give them the ability to increase their damage output. Because that's what martials are for. They're for raw damage output. Mages tend to be, flinging spells left and right. They do all the fun stuff. And yeah. Supporter casting is going to be tricky because I want to make sure that as a mage, you are more focused on combat spells. You are more focused on dealing damage to foes through creative spell use versus trying to hinder foes through creative spell use. Now, I'm not saying that supporters can't learn offensive magic, but mages are going to have more damage output capabilities with the thing. They're going to be like the glass cannon, pretty much. They're not going to have, a whole lot of... They're not going to have a whole lot of survivability in melee combat, but they'll be able to dish out the damage when need to. And that was the whole point of it, because I love magic, don't get me wrong. One of my favorite characters is Harry Gary Larry, the lizard man that specializes in ice magic, calling him the Blizzard Lizard Wizard. I have an entire run-on joke with that character. But I love spellcasting all in all, and one of my go-to characters in D&D is a fighter magic user. That's what I'm playing in Pathfinder. I'm playing a magist. That's a fighter magic user. I'm also playing a rogue, but that's a narrative reason why. I won't get into that. That's a secret. You're gonna have to wait to find out what's going on with that one. The point is that I don't want each class to feel left out, but I want each class to feel like, okay, when we have this class, we know we have a specialist. That's what I want. Because ideally a party size would be 4 people. That'd be the ideal party size for most D&D groups, having 4 players minimum. Because with 4 players, you get enough interaction at the table to allow for roleplay elements without making things feel like a cutscene. but also at the same time you have enough range of coverage for character abilities and skills and everything like that without, you know, bogging down the game system. Which is another thing I'm going to do. I'm stealing a page out of Pathfinder 2, and it's Pathfinder 2 specifically, and I am utilizing the multiple action system. So at level 1, characters only have one action, and that's pretty much going to be one action all the way through level 4. But at level 5, you gain a second action. Meaning now every class, every player can do 2 actions a turn. Which means fighters get multi-attack. Marshals get multi-attack regardless. Clerics, and mages can now cast 2 spells in one turn, or one really big spell. And supporters can utilize their abilities twice per turn, as opposed to one time a turn. I'm still probably going to include like some minor things, but I'm definitely going to include like reactions and things like that to kind of keep battles more dynamic. And I'm going to work on a reaction system for the game that allows players to do stuff even if they may not be able to do anything entirely useful. So like the supporter as a reaction may try to, instead of making an attack of opportunity, he can make a tripping action to trip someone walking by them as they try to go for another person, or maybe they can hinder the attack or cause a disadvantage attack by throwing sand at the attacker's face. That is a reaction that they can do. Because they're supporters, so they disable foes, where marshals, game day burst, pretty much, yeah, I'm just kind of going off and chatting. That's pretty much what I'm doing, because I'm not happy with Hasbro and what they're deciding to do with D&D and making it the Fortnite with quote-unquote drops instead of real books, because as you know, they want your money. So subscribe to Hasbro stuff, and guess what? You'll be able to get access to all the latest D&D content. Oh, and everyone has to subscribe, otherwise you don't have access to it. Oh, the Dungeon Master has access to it? Well, too bad you don't have it because you're not subscribed. That's what Hasbro is doing, and it's disgusting, in my opinion. But, you know, what do I know? I've only been playing D&D since 2007. I've only been a Dungeon Master for that long. Oh, the forever DM of me. Yeah. If they change Pathfinder, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I like Pathfinder too, but I also would like to play my own system, and that's what I'm going to try and do. Definitely going to try and get some sort of live playtest by summer, even if it's just level 1, even if it's just like level 1 campaign battle testing and things like that with pre-gen characters and everything, because I am going to go to a convention, and I'm just going to go there. It's like, hey, I'm going to go to the tabletop thing. Hey, can I do a playtest thing here? Yeah, I'm going to put the looking for players and say, come playtest this game I'm working on. Also, I have a ton of miniatures, and I never get to use them because I never go out to anyone's houses anymore. Oh, man. I never get to go to anyone's houses and play with my miniatures. That's crazy. That sounded so bad, but oh well, I am here now. And I apologize if the bot kind of feels like it's spamming stuff out. I had it set for a minute timer to do multiple messages, so I do apologize for it. I generally don't... Sadly, I don't get enough chatters to make it last longer, but I do like the advertised stuff. So if you want to see the fantasy world so far and everything, the Terrace Van Rohun link will take you to the World Anvil page, and then of course I am writing a book. So self-plugs! Hooray! I don't get monetization on YouTube, so that's my self-ad. This video is sponsored by me, myself, and I, because I have a job and I pay for it with my own money out of my pocket. Yay, hooray! Anyway, but yeah. So if you missed part of it, yeah, my system has 4 classes and many jobs, many subclasses. And the classes are Martial, Mage, Healer, and Support. and supporter. Those are the 4 classes, and they're more or less play styles, not like flushed out characters. So if you're a martial class, you fight with weapons. If you're a mage, you fight with spells. If you're a healer, you're the healer. And if you're a supporter, you're the bard that goes and flirts with the dragon. Because that's what they do. What would be the difference between healer and support? Healers get bonus to healing. Like they gain. So think of the healer as the life domain cleric. That's what they do. They are focused on healing the party and healing everything around them. They can still dish out some damage output, but their primary job is to heal and cure others of afflictions and raise up their hit points. Where the supporter's job is to buff allies and debuff enemies. So they'll get bonuses to certain things, and they'll have and every class will have different reactions. Because I like the idea of having a reaction system where, yes, every round at the beginning of your turn, you get your reaction reset. But then, instead of having a very limited reaction count, which in Pathfinder, like, no one can do attack of opportunities, where in 5th edition, everyone can do attack of opportunities, but it's only melee. So, the mage can do an attack of opportunity, but they do it with a spell and a cantrip. A supporter, they may not get an attack of opportunity, but they can, trip a foe as they try to run away, or they can throw sand at an attacker's face to have them attack at a disadvantage. A healer can use a reaction to quick heal somebody, and everything like that. That's kind of the reaction system I'm doing, because once again, I'm also limiting the amount of actions at low levels, and as you get higher and higher levels, you get more and more actions that you can do during a turn. So levels 1 to 4, every class only has one action. You get one attack, you can cast one spell, you can do one thing, and that's it. But when you hit level 5, now every class can do 2 things. Sounds pretty, yeah. I mean, yeah, because one of the things I know for players is that we can ignore that. Thank you, Botrix, for keeping up with it. At least just spamming all the messages at once. Spamming all the messages. Anyway, one of the things that I know from experience as both a player and a dungeon master, when you can't do anything until your turn comes around, it can get pretty boring. But if players have means to interact at any given time, once per turn, there's a higher chance that players are going to be more involved and more focused and less likely to, like, hop on the screen or play Magic the Gathering off on a different platform or do other things that are not focused on the game. So that's one of the reasons why I've started implementing in my regular D&D game of telegraphed attacks, where now there's a reaction that anyone can take, and you have one of 3 options that you can do. Generally the options are you can attempt to dodge out of the attack to reduce the damage, or defend against the attack to reduce damage. You can move up to 5 feet in any direction, or you can make an attack of opportunity at range or in melee. Doesn't matter. The attack of opportunity is limited to like a cantrip spell if you're doing spell casting, and a single attack for people using weapons. But I have found so far that my players are paying more attention in combat, because now I'm like, all right, everyone in this cone, this is a very telegraphed attack. You can use your reaction to do one of the following. And then everyone's like, oh shit, I'm gonna do this. And if they don't do something, then they get hit with a butt ton of damage. And it's always fun to hit them with a butt ton of damage. So that's one reason for trying to have a focus on reactions in my system. But at the same time, I want actions to feel important. So spellcasting, more powerful spells cost more actions. Kind of like how they do in Pathfinder 2e, where, you know, a standard spell is 2 action points, and therefore you end up can't doing anything for a third action unless if it's a cantrip that's a 1 action cantrip. So that's kind of the goal. And since mages now cast multiple spells a turn instead of just the 1 spell a turn, you can technically have a mage caster cast at level 17 when they get 5 actions. That's right, you get to do 5 actions at level 17. It's a long way away, but you know what? Hey, 17 actions. Wait, 17. 5 actions at level 17. If you can't tell, I've had it's been a very hectic and busy week for me. Between multiple stream pushbacks and cancellations. I got new fans in my PC, everything. Yeah. This is 17 actions at level 5. Let's go. No! No, the turns will take an hour. No! No! They already take long enough. Listening to my players debate for 30 minutes on how to polymorph a wyvern and drop it from altitude was enough already. It was still a very good way to take care of the wyvern. I action surge. That's actually one of the things I'm probably not going to utilize is action surge, because don't get me wrong, as a fighter, action surge is amazing, but that's it. That's all they get. That's the biggest call for a fighter in 5th edition. Is like, I'm going to attack you 10 times in 1 round. What? Yeah, I'm going to attack you 10 times in 1 round. Deal with it, boy. Yeah. Which, when you get to a really well built fighter, it's terrifying. It's just terrifying. I kind of, when I was playing Baldur's Gate with friends and everything like that, one of the guys, like, I've never considered fighters for any D&D game because I find them boring. But them watching me play a fighter and realizing just how bonkers they can be, and I was like, I might have to reconsider playing a fighter. I was like, yep, fighters are OP, man, if you know what you're doing. Same thing, but then again, any class can be OP if you know what you're doing with them. But that's just neither here or there. So, but yeah, so yeah, 5 classes 4 classes, and they're your playstyle. Subclasses is where the main problem with fighters is that they are 2 combat focused class for. Yeah, exactly. Which is one reason. We'll just jump into this. That's one reason why I'm incorporating more feats into my system as well. So every 4 levels, you get a feat. At least that's the current plan. That might change later on, but every 4 levels you get a feat in addition to an ability score increase. Because let's face it, a lot of times, especially in 5e, cap at level 20. And maybe, I don't know. I haven't actually planned out that far. Like, I have only 1 class currently in the works, which is the martial class. And so far, the initial plan is up to level 13. And then I have 16 and 17 as ability score increase plus feat and gain 5th action. I don't have 14, 15, 18, 19, or 20 planned out. But the basics for it is actually, give me a second. Let me do this real fast. Going to nope, don't want to create a new scene. That's a terrible idea. How about I just do this? We'll bring up a browser. No, we're not gonna bring up a browser. We're gonna not bring that one up. Hey, browser, go away. Yes, that's it. Go away. What we're gonna do is we're going to capture a window. Do this. And bam. And then I'm going to scroll this down so we can actually see. Well, okay, I'm gonna put this over here, and then I'm going to drop it down below chat and everyone else, and we'll make it a little bit bigger. All right. So there we go. This is kind of, there we go. We'll do that, and then I come over here. So this is kind of the starting breakdown for it. So a martial at first level gets to choose 2 weapons they're proficient with, because I like the idea that I never am quite the biggest fan of just like, oh, you're proficient with martial weapons. So I pick up a weapon my character has never held, and because it's a martial weapons, I'm already proficient with it. It doesn't make sense to me. So in my game, every weapon and armor is something that you have to train with. So as a martial, you get to pick 2 weapons you're proficient with and 2 armor types that you're proficient with, between like light armor, medium armor, or light armor and heavy armor, and that's kind of based off of your backstory. And then of course you get access to a mana pool, because you can because I base it in the Cestria world, which is a very magic heavy world. Everyone has the potential to cast magic. Some people excel more at it, and some people don't. And the mana is there to kind of say, yes, fighters can channel their mana into their attacks and make their attacks do more damage. And I think kind of the temporary work right now is that for every mana point they pump into their attack up to 5, they do 1 point of extra damage. So you pump 5 points of mana and you deal 5 extra damage flat. That's it. But that'll be like but then like your subclass will have other things like, okay, you channel the element of fire around you and into your weapon, and you spend 5 mana points, and now you deal 5, and now every time you make a successful attack, you deal 5 points of fire damage every single time, flat out. But it's a temporary thing, so every turn you have basically a timer counting down 1 mana per turn on how long it lasts, until when you run out of mana points, the enchantment goes away. Things like that. That's kind of the idea behind the mana pool. And in the case of spellcasters, every spell has a flat mana cost, and that's your spell slots, pretty much. And they'll be all nice and rounded numbers and everything for weapons. Yeah, so there's going to be, I'm not going to do like, there's going to be like major categories of things, and then there's subcategories, and that's probably what I'm going to do. So you could pick from like the polearm family, and then you can, focus on being more of a glaive fighter. So you learn how to fight with a glaive more so than a spear and stuff like that. Again, I'm probably going to initially limit the number of weapons. Probably pick out a few things like probably do like the major groups. Yeah, exactly. The proficiency in major groups, like you could use a sword. So it's like, I'm proficient in long swords. Okay, I'm going to use but I'm not used to fighting with I'm used to fighting with a katana. That is my chosen specialty weapon for my character's backstory. I'm from Dwarvengard. I am a dwarf, and I use the katana as my main weapon. But all of a sudden, now I got to pick up a 2-bladed longsword. I may not be specialized in it, but I know how to fight with a sword. I just have to be mindful that it's 2-bladed now. So, yeah, it's definitely something I can consider. But as we can see, like right here, at level 6, oh, we can't see. You can't see my mouse on this, unfortunately. I can do this though. There we go. At level 6, gain weapon expertise. That could be something along the lines of like, okay, you pick a specific weapon and now you're an expert at said weapon. That would make more sense. Because, or you could choose a new weapon proficiency to be like proficient, like you're training with other weapons and understanding that. as you can tell, like new job skill, and some job skills may provide you with like an extra feat. And one thing I plan for feats is I'm not gonna do like a full like feat tree system where it's like, oh, you choose this feat and you follow this line, but I'm definitely gonna have like some prerequisites for like more powerful feats, and probably have different categories of like feats that people can choose from. So there's like the role play feats, there's the combat feats, there's minor feats and major feats and things like that. But it's just I want to have the players be able to truly build out a unique character. So instead of how like most systems are, where it's like, this is your class, this is your character, you have like these 4 sub options, and at the end of the day everyone kind of picks the same style build. Like, sure, I have a ice wizard in Harry Gary Larry. Harry Gary Larry uses evocation ice magic. Okay, so does Bill and Ted and Fred and Ludwig von and Schmitzenberg, the 5th generated son of the 9 moons. I don't know. Because there's only so many ways that you can play classes in traditional D&D and Pathfinder and other systems like that. And that's not it's not an issue with that, because what makes a character unique is how the character role plays at the end of the day. But I do like the mechanical aspects of tabletop games versus the more open-endedness of games. So I like having the ability to pick and choose abilities, and that's going to be the challenge, is trying to make each choice worthwhile. And this is where a lot of playtesting is going to have to take place, and that's why, like I said, between now and the end of July, I'm going to try and get at least level 1, maybe level 2, like fully hashed out, and get the bare minimum mechanics functioning, because that's kind of the first thing. Can make something like major feats, also bring some negative. Yeah, that's something I could do. And these anti feats or negative feats are consequences, because everyone's a good murder hobo. Oh, at times everyone's been there, everyone's done that. Well, you be too much of a murder hobo, now you got a negative feat, wanted. Or mass murderer, or you've slain enough people that when you attack, that you are instantly recognized by guards, or you are wanted and it's a negative feat or something like that. Or again, a negative feat can be like a status effect that a healer will eventually have to try and get rid of. They may not be able to get rid of it immediately, but they can get rid of it eventually and stuff like that. So yeah, that's an idea, having some negative feats as well. Again, it's just to kind of add more to player options and things. God hates you, less healing for you. No vindictive gods here, please. Oh wait, I am God. I am God in my D&D game. That's just the way that it is. But yeah, so like I said, there's a lot that I still need to plan out. Again, I don't even have mage, healer, or supporter class planned out, but I know one thing. I want each class to be able to do more than just what they're capable of. So as an example, we'll go healer as a prime example. Everyone imagines a healer being this magical cleric that does holy light, calls upon the holy gods, and heals you with magic. What about apothecaries? They don't use magic. So one of the things that a healer can do at level 1 is choose to be either a magic caster or martial. So they get to choose if they want to be able to go into frontline combat and be a battle medic, or if they want to be more of a backline supportive medic. with healing and blessing. And it's not like healers and supporters can't flip-flop jobs, or mages can't do supportive stuff. It's just that when you are each class, yeah, apothecary could be more of a support too. You know, like I said, that's the subclass. An apothecary is the subclass, and subclasses can go between each of them. I mean, what's more terrifying? A raging barbarian with 2 axes, or a raging barbarian mage? Because I've always liked the idea of a mage so angry that he just gives bonus to his spell power. So that's one thing, and I definitely like. So every subclass can go, just about every subclass can intermingle with any of the playstyles, but based on what your playstyle is, determines what the spells can do. So as a healer, you got the life domain cleric. All your healing aspects, any healing that you do gets a bonus because that is your playstyle. But as a supporter, your healing is basic. It's a standard heal. So if you do, say, like a healing word, alright, healing word heals you 1d4 plus 1 hit points. So you get a minimum of 2 hit points back, or a maximum of 6 hit points back. That's the standard spell. A healer gets an additional 10 points on top of that. So the minimum they can do is 12, well, the maximum they can do is 16. And that's kind of what the healer does, but the supporter can still heal, but that's not their main focus. Likewise, if, the mage decides to cast a fog spell, the fog spell may last for a standard of 3 rounds of combat, where the supporter will last for a full minute and can possibly have other effects that can buff allies or debuff enemies. And again, fighters can choose a magic subclass, or like a mystic subclass, and now they're the stereotypical fighter magic user. So they can fling spells, but their spells aren't as potent as a mage's spells because their focus is still on melee combat. And I kind of have a list of things going on. Give me a second. I'm going to hide that real fast, and I'm going to double check something because I want to say, here we go. Bam. I'm going to drag myself back over here real fast. So here's an example of stuff. So the Ranger is a Pathfinder mixed range and melee fighting styles. That's what a Ranger is. The Medic is a healing specialist. That's what they focus on. They get like the massive bonuses to any healing that they do. Beastmaster, animal specialist, has a pet and gains special buffs and skills. So that's your your other stereotypical hunter. The Elementalist has an affinity with all 6 major elements of magic, which is wind, fire, earth, water, light, and darkness, because I'm very stereotypical like that. But they have bonuses to all elemental spells, but may not have that much bonuses to, utilitarian spells or non-descript spells. Berserkers are rage fighters. They're high damage resistant and high damage output, but suffer a lower AC because of it. And your rogue is your stealth tactical specialist. So rogues would be like, okay, I'm going to go and kind of be your tactical specialist guy and fight dirty. I'm going to be a little bit of a dirty fighter. That's kind of the very, very bare minimum that I have so far. I don't think I have... Yeah, I really don't have much else on it. Oh no, ads! I see ads are coming. Well, alright. So we got an ad break here in about 45 seconds, so what I'm gonna do is we're going to pause for a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the BRB screen. Kind of showcase that we are on here. And yeah, when we get back from the ad break, I'll go on a little bit further and kind of delve a little bit deeper into my ideas going forward and everything like that. So yeah, we'll be right back here after about 3 minutes. That's how long the ads are on Twitch. Woot. Alright, I'm gonna come back a little early because there it is. Wow. Okay, we're back. Alright, sorry. Yes, I can understand the confusion. Yeah, welcome back, Twitch. Yes, the conversation continued on in chat and everything like that, just because of the nature of what it is. So I do apologize for those on the YouTube side of things. Also, subscribe to YouTube. Help me make money off of YouTube, guys, please. Please, I need it. I need some money. Anyway, yeah, in some regards, it can be confusing, but this is where like the difference of abilities will also come in. So if you go as a martial rogue, you're going to be doing more damage output than if you were a supporter rogue, where you're going to have more bonuses to disabling and hindering foes. So that's kind of where the difference lies in it. Because we've all seen like rogues that it's the best way to think about it is you've got the where's my player's handbook? Here we go. Alright. Got the player's handbook for 5th edition right here because I have it close on hand no matter what. Because you never know when you need to look up random bits of information. When you need the random bits of information. Anyway, let's go to the rogue after I get past not too far. It's before the wizard, before the warlock, before the sorcerer. Alright, so let's take the rogue archetypes just from the 2014 Player's Handbook. You've got Thief, Assassin, and Arcane Trickster. Well, what is the difference between the three of them? Well, the Assassin has a lot of high damage output at the beginning of round before anything else moves. So their primary focus is dealing out a massive ton of damage very quickly early on. Where a Thief is more stealthy, utilizing their stealth and getting sneak attacks on. Meanwhile, the Arcane Trickster is your spellcasting focused one. They have trickster spells that can distract and possibly harm other people and make it easier for them to sneak around and stab you in the back. So it'd be kind of a similar situation for Rogue in that regard too. Because the subclasses, they get options that you can pick and choose from. So if you're going in as a rogue and say that you're a mage. So when you are a rogue, the prerequisite of you using some abilities is that you are a specific class. Yeah, you're not, yeah, the class is more of what is your play style, not just like, oh, I am playing the rogue. Or I'm playing an assassin rogue. Oh, it's like, I am playing the rogue, and I specialize in stabbing people, or I specialize in hindering my opponent, or I'm an escape artist, say that. So that's what that's why I call the subclasses jobs. Your job is that you're the rogue, or you're an elementalist, or you're a berserker. I just put down Battlemaster onto the little class job snippets, and the Battlemaster is a battlefield tactician with a focus on maneuvers to turn the tide of battle. You know, your typical fighter. But, you know, a Battlemaster could be anyone. It could be a healer, it could be a support class, it could be a frontline general, it could be a mage general. So, some examples of like the prerequisites for utilizing meta magic. If you're a Battlemaster, you can get meta magic to alter spells and make them more like maneuvers. Like, okay, instead of casting a normal fireball, I'm casting a shaped fireball. So the fireball explodes in this area, but now it's shaped around a specific area to not damage one section, or something like that. Things, like I said, there's a lot of work I still have to hash out and figure out. Because the hardest thing in any game, especially tabletop RPGs or RPGs in general, is finding a balance between everything. because you want things to feel good, but not be so powerful that they are a must pick. I've always hated meta as a terminology for how people play games. I would rather people play the game they want play the game the way they want to play it and have fun doing it than, okay, the only way to play this game is to use this, and this, and if you play it any other way, you're wrong. I don't want that. Because if we look at Dungeons and Dragons, especially like official Dungeons and Dragons with Adventure League, there is, I'm gonna turn this down. I hadn't realized I had a little too loud. Sorry, my bad. I turned up the music for the break and I realized I made it too loud. But if you go to Adventure League, there is a meta that can exist in Adventure League. I know, I've DM'd it. And it's a reason why I have a change in my grappling rules for my games, because here's the story. I had a lot of power gamers and a lot of power players. So they built characters a very specific way, and because eventually it gets rules as written, there's no real free justification. So I had a player, and he was a mid-maxer, so he, as quickly as he could, got up to 20 strength, and he was playing a Goliath barbarian. And I forget the exact details of his character, but for the purposes of what it is, he's a Goliath barbarian. He was a grappler, but he never took the grappling feat. And that's because he didn't need it. Because rules as written, by the time he got to 5th level and he had his second attack, here's how he would play the character. He walks up to an enemy, he makes a grappling check. And he has a few, and he's also, multi-class into a few other classes like Rogue and Fighter or something like that. I forget what he multi-classed in, but I know Rogue was definitely one of them. But so the first thing is that when he grappled, he made an athletics check. Well, he's proficient in athletics with expertise in athletics, so his skill check at like the bare minimum was usually over 20. So he would grapple the person, and then his next action, instead of attacking, he would just knock him prone. And as rules as written, if you're grappled, your movement speed is 0. And rules as written, in order to stand up, you need to use half your movement speed. Well, with your movement speed is 0, half of 0 doesn't exist because you can't move. So the character is restrained without being restrained. And I tried to argue the point with the guy at some points too, and it didn't go well. But pretty much, yeah. What he would do is he would walk up to the final boss of the module, grapple them, knock him prone, and then shank him. And shank him. And shank him. And because he has advantage, because they are prone on the ground, he's grappling them, and therefore he has advantage, he has sneak attack, and therefore he's dealing sneak attack with a dagger every round. And I literally had bosses that, even if they rolled a natural 20, they would not beat his DC. They would not be able to get past him. Because his saving throws were always like 28. And the highest they could get on a natural 20 was like 25 or 26. That's an example of a meta play. Eventually, I heard later on that eventually one of the slightly funny, but sounds boring. Yeah, it as the dungeon master at the time, it got really annoying. And he also played a Gloomstalker too, and he made the art, and I had a fantastic argument for this as well. So Gloomstalker, when they are in complete darkness, they are invisible to people with dark vision. They're just invisible to the eye. And he tried using that. He tried using that and abusing it by like, oh, I'm invisible, so they can't see where I'm at. But then I pulled a Uno reverse card. I was like, yeah, they can't see you, but they can definitely hear you. And you just moved 60 feet in one round. So they heard you going plip, 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 plip in the dark stone. Sure, they can't see you, so all their attacks are at disadvantage, but they know you're in that general area. Because rules as written, yeah, they're blind to sight. Yeah, you're invisible to sight. You're not invisible to sound. And that's how I got him on that character. He was not happy that I pulled that logic out on him. But that's the thing I use now. It's like, okay, you're invisible. Did you just run 30 feet nonstop? Yeah, they're gonna shoot in this general area. They have disadvantage. And when my players ask, like, why are they doing that? Because they heard you run 30 feet. But I'm invisible. Yeah, they can't see you, but they can definitely hear you. I haven't gotten to the animal scent yet, so it's one of those things. I can't wait for that one. It's just like, I'm invisible. Oh, and I move quietly. Yeah, but you haven't taken a bath in 3 weeks. So they know where you are via smell. I'm a shooting on this general direction. Maybe I'll get lucky. I actually did hit him once. Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, I wanted it balancing out mechanics so that every mechanic is useful to some degree is going to be a challenge. And while I get where some ideas like for 5th edition came in, like I get the idea of the grappler feat. The grappler feat is a terrible feat. Like, you get the ability to forcibly restrain a creature, but then you are also considered restrained at the same time. It's one of those things that it just doesn't quite make sense, and that's one of the reasons why, like, I now give everyone everyone in my game has the grappler feat, but not really. It's not actually like a feat they have, but if they want to grapple and restrain somebody, they can absolutely do that, and they are considered restrained as well when they restrain somebody. But as a grappler, you don't get that condition of being restrained when you grapple someone and knock them to the ground. Because that's what I think the grappler should be. You specialize in grappling people. You should be able to get out of your own grapple if you're grappling somebody. If you're grappled by somebody, that's a different problem. But so, like I said, that's where the challenges is going to come, is when I start getting into like the jobs and their abilities and everything. Again, for the initial playtest, it's just getting the basic mechanics down, where it's like, okay, here are the characters, and here's kind of what you do. And again, for a lot of the classes, you get to pick whether you are a spellcaster or for that. Words are hard, guys. Words are hard. A healer and a supporter class get to choose if they are magically focused or martial focused, where the martial and mage don't. Because the martial gets bonuses to melee weapons and physical weapons, where the mage gets bonuses to spell casting and has more spells available to them. Which is why mages are going to be terrifying, because, you know, when they eventually get to level 14 or level 13, they'll be able to cast 2 fireballs in 1 turn. Because I'm planning on making Fireball a 2-action spell. That's going to be a terrifying situation there. It's just like, I cast Fireball, and then I cast Fireball. Sadly, they'll never be able to cast 3 fireballs in one turn unless they have some sort of meta magic ability. Aye. Oh, taking a drink of water there. So, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot to go into the planning here, and I've already started thinking about it a lot over last year, a few years before, and a couple, yeah, for like the last 2 or 3 years, I have been heavily thinking about making my own TTRPG system. So you kind of get the idea of where I'm going for, where I want it to be mechanically pleasing, but fully customizable. And because that's one thing I do like about TTRPGs is I do like the mechanics of combat. The mechanics of combat makes things unique and interesting. Roleplay gets a little bit fudgy at times because there is no correct way to roleplay. There are socially accepted ways of roleplay, but there's no like correct there's no perfect system for roleplay. But if you get your combat system nailed down, then you can build off of the combat system mechanics and incorporate them into roleplay mechanics. So I am going to have the classic stat system of strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma. The standard set of ability scores and everything like that. I'm going to have proficiency bonuses. So, you know, +2 upwards to +6 for proficiency bonus, kind of like how it is in Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and stuff like that. So there's a lot of aspects I'm stealing from other game systems. I'm stealing the multi-action system from Pathfinder, but utilizing the more straightforward leveling system that D&D has, where you pick a subclass and you kind of locked into certain aspects of that class. But I'm also allowing you to freely customize how that class plays and how you build it. And my hope and intent with this system is to allow players to be able to build a party of barbarians. Just avoid the D&D ability score. I think they still hold parent on that. Yeah. Well, they can't hold copyright on the terminology of strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma, because those are terms and words. But you know, I could figure out something. I've never been a fan of floating modifiers, but I understand where the appeal can be at times. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Fallout uses special BC of that too. Yeah. And that's kind of where I have, instead of using spell slots, I have the mana pool. The mana pool is going to be focused on having the ability to cast spells, and spells like, okay, I cast Firebolt. Firebolt costs 5 mana points. So if a fighter happens to know Mana Bolt, because, you know, I have the mana pool figured out for them, Firebolt costs 5 mana. That's what a cantrip costs. A cantrip costs 5 mana. So, yes, spellcasters can eventually run out of mana. And that's kind of one of the things I know for recovery, because keeping track of, like, oddball counts of things can be difficult. I'm just going to say, like, in roleplay scenario, every hour that you're not using mana, you regain 5 points of mana. enough to do a basic cantrip or basic spells. And if you get a proper short rest, you can regain up to half your mana. Rounded up to the nearest 5th decimal, pretty much. Marshals are the weird ones because they start off with 10 mana and they get a mana increase every level. So by the time they reach level 20, they get 30 mana maximum. But most of their mana is going towards, I pump 5 points of mana into my damage to do 5 extra points of damage. So I'm also debating if I want to keep with the multi-dice system of D20s down to D4s and everything like that, or if I want to use a D20 and a D12 system or D6 system. D6s are easy because, you know, everyone has a D6. Everyone has a 6-sided dice, probably, maybe, or it's the easiest to come by. But again, it's like any game design or any planning, there's a lot of things to think about in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. Again, the biggest thing is I want player freedom and customization, and I want a solid set of mechanics that borrows but doesn't necessarily completely copy other systems. Unfortunately, there's always going to be some comparison to Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder. I grew up with Dungeons & Dragons. It's the biggest inspiration I have for my games and everything like that. And Pathfinder is a derivative of 3.5 edition for Dungeons & Dragons. So basically, I'm sorry, they're kind of the same thing. They have different set of mechanics and rules, but fundamentally at the heart of it all, they are the same style of game. Unless you're doing the Gothic RPG, then it's compared to Vampire Survival, everything like that. And a lot of games are based off of something. You have an Eldritch horror thing, it's Call of Cthulhu. You have a fantasy adventure, it's Dungeons and Dragons. You have anything Gothic horror, it's Vampire the Masquerade. Yeah, I remember seeing that comparison. It's just like, doesn't matter what game it is, it's always one of these 4 or key characters. But yeah. As I get more developed and as I do live playtesting, because I am going to do live playtesting, so there may be some days after July, it's a long time away, there may be some like weekend days, and by that Thursday, Friday, that I just don't have a stream because I'm going out to play that live playtest somewhere. Or I'm going to a convention and I'm live playtesting at a convention. And eventually, once I get, you know, a established set of rules, I might do some actual live stream live playtesting of it, where I invite my regular D&D players and maybe others, if people are interested in helping me with it, to do a live stream play of a short module. Because I have a few one-shot modules that I have built. One in which everyone dies at the end. Spoilers. And I have I think another one I planned out at some point. I have to look through my copious amounts of notes for my D&D world to figure out which one, what I have. But I know I have one that in my world goes through the Shadowfell Forest. And spoilers, everyone dies. There is no escaping that. And it's because it's the Shadowfell Forest. It is not a place that you go into. You either go in and die, or you come out and you died inside. One or the other. no one survives the Shadowfell Forest or lives through it as the same person. But yeah, and like I said, when I actually start getting more and more active things going on, I'm probably gonna do like, sorry, I'm probably gonna do like the what is it? The D&D like, god dang it, I forgot. I'm forgetting the thing. The one guy. What's the one guy? Let me see. D&D for beginners. Was it a crap guide? Yeah, there it is. Joe Cat. I might do like a Joe Cat style video where I'm just going through and, you know, talking about like, this is what my thing does, and blah 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 blah, and do like have like silly commentary and things like that. I don't know. With song, maybe. When I talk about the bard subclass, it's gonna be a all song and everything. That was gonna be a nightmare. Cause yeah, one of the things that I'm gonna do is I'm going to plan out a core set of jobs, a core set of subclasses that are just like, these are the like 50 some odd subclasses that you can pick. And there's like certain prerequisites to those subclasses, and a lot of them is going to be based off of what class are you playing. So I do like the idea of a barbarian mage, because, you know, I'm going to fling angry firebolts at you and not give a care about my armor. But then also, you know, you can have mage tanks. Mages that, you know, wear heavy armor and specialize in like frontal assault magic. Or they're like the bomb squad. They go in with heavy armor and they use magic to disarm the bomb. Who knows? There's lots of fun things that can be done. That's the whole point of the jobs of subclass system. Because that's always the one thing that kind of bothered me for a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of fun cleric classes that you can play. You got the light domain, the twilight domain, the forge domain. You have all these different clerics, and not every single one of those domains is good at healing. The light domain is not a healing focused class. It is I'm going to purge undead with radiant sunlight and fire. Samobuka Extensepa, my favorite little fireball monster of a dragon girl. That's my first eventually character is Samobuka Extensepa. She had terrible stats, but you know what? She completely destroyed a vampire. Just like you're a vampire? Gone. That's it. That's a fun story that I might. I've told this story before many times over, but I'm probably going to retell it. I might do it in like a D&D short story thing at some point in video, kind of like how it's kind of like some of the other D&D YouTubers and everything like that. I don't know. It's a fun story of my character, where she's gone through the worst adventure in her life to her best adventure in her life. Sadly, she never got past level 13 because I stopped being able to go to eventually because, one, work got too busy, and two, the game shop that that was closest to my house that had eventually was ended up closing down because the rent was too high in the building. We were on very good terms with that game store owner, with that store owner. He was very good to us. Yeah, unfortunately. It's now. I think that place is now a martial arts gym or something, or ballet. It's been several things since he left. And it's just an expensive. Unfortunately, if I live in an expensive state, and some of the rental cost for buildings is ridiculous, apparently. And that's just the nature of the business, I say, unfortunately. But what can I do? There's not much I can say. But yeah, I think one other thing I might do when I actually start working on job subclasses is I might start putting polls out on social media platforms and everything, like, hey, if you had this job, what sort of features would you expect this job to have? Or, hey, for my game, here's the job. What do you think this job would have? Because my idea is that when people want to make content for the game, which I'm perfectly fine with people trying to homebrew stuff for my system and everything, I welcome it, please. One of the things the biggest things I want is I don't want them to focus on the core gameplay of the class of the subclass, but I want them to focus on the theme of the class. So what is the style of class it is? A necromancer summons undead. That's what they do. Now, you know what would be fun? A martial undead, a martial necromancer. Someone that commands the army of the dead as like a general. So he may not be able to summon a lot of undead soldiers, but he can summon some pretty powerful ones that can help defend him. Meanwhile, the mage necromancer can summon a whole bunch of undead and be able to utilize the undead for spell use. And, you know, a healer necromancer. Yeah. I don't know if it would feel martial in mechanic. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Like I said, Ed, one of the things I played around with is that certain subclasses are locked behind specific things. So if you can't be a martial in the class, you can't use it. So Battle Master, probably not going to be under the healer class, because that's not a Battle Master. Or a Battle Master is someone that focuses on battle. But they can absolutely be a martial, a mage, or a support class. Because, you know, you have tactical generals that stay in the back line and make strategies and plan out stuff. That would be your supporter. So they see the battlefield as a whole. Meanwhile, the marshal is your frontline general. You're the one leading the army. You're boosting morale at the front, and you're able to fend off and fight for yourself. You're Aragorn charging in the battle. That's a battle master. That is a battle master marshal right there. And then, of course, mage, because, you know, mages can be generals too, and they can utilize battlefield tactics. You know, it's just stuff like that. Apothecary, probably not good. Apothecary is probably either going to be a healer or a supporter. Like, just limited to those two classes, because that's what they do. But I also have, like, blacksmith. That's a job. That's a subclass. Blacksmith cannot be a mage. They do not have the ability to. They're not a mage casting class, so the prerequisite is they have to be some sort of martial class. So they can't be a healer and they can't be a mage, but they can be a supporter or a martial, and just be like, I'm a blacksmith. I make my own weapons and I fight with my own weapons. Or a supporter where it's like, I can buff your equipment like no other. I can repair all your equipment just fine. I also have Arcane Blacksmith, which would be the opposite. That one would be the mage and the supporter class, because then they can do all the enchantments for everything. So I like the idea of, like, a blacksmith cannot make enchanted weapons, but an arcane blacksmith can enchant the weapons, and that's what they specialize at. Some setting makes the blacksmith also the ones that enchant stuff. Yeah, that's a lot of the. A lot of them is like the blacksmith does everything because they don't want to think about. They don't want to have too many like people going off and doing like empty things. But I've always liked the idea of like, no, you need to go to an arcane blacksmith. A regular blacksmith, he'll make your horseshoes, or an arcane blacksmith will make those flaming horseshoes. I want to see that now. I want to see a fighter that fights with horseshoes. I throw my horseshoe at the enemy. What? It's like the one character. It's like the character is a rogue. The character is a horse. He's not a cursed person. He's just a horse, and the horse is magically able to talk. And his stealth is, no one is ever going to believe you. So I'm walking through here, but no one's ever going to believe you that a talking horse came through this area. That's one of my favorite D&D shorts. I like to watch it every now and then, just like I'm a horse. I'm kind of getting off topic here, but you know what? That's the nature of... that is the nature of stream of thought streams and everything like that. But yeah. I'm running out of things to say. I don't know I'm not sure what else I really can say aside from it's just a lot of work, and I need to double down and actually get something hashed out for the anime convention I'll be going to later this year. That's definitely something I gotta do. I know for sure that I'm going to make 6 characters for... I'm going to make 6 characters, pre-made characters for the playtest. 2 marshals, 2 mages, 2 medics, 2 healers, and 2 supporters. That's definitely something I'm going to do, and it's going to be interesting. My biggest downside is that I think of ideas and I never write notes down, so some ideas that are really good, I end up forgetting about them. And in some ideas that are really bad, I just remember them forever. I was like, no, that was a bad idea, stop it! ADHD is fun, guys. It really does mess with you at times. But it's neither here nor there. Anyway, I don't think I have much else to say aside from, I'll make at least one of each, then the other 4. Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna make definitely the first 4 are going to be like the stereotypical ones. So your marshal is going to be, the melee fighter. He's the guy that's up close, proficient in long swords and heavy armor. That's what he's proficient in. The mage is just that. He just is a mage and has casting capability, and he has like specialties in, I don't know, evocation. I think I'm probably gonna do a school system as well, just like, pick your school that you're specialized in and whatnot, and then things can go from there. I don't know. Well again, mages are gonna be the hardest one to think of because there's so many things you can do with mages. A healer, going to be a cleric. Classic holy cleric of light that heals everyone. And the supporter is going to be the rogue. Like the original rogue, where you fight dirty and focus on stealth and subterfuge. I know for my second healer class, it's going to be a more apothecary person. So it's going to be a non-magical healer. The second marshal is going to be a ranged fighter. And and the second support is going to be like a blacksmith. Or like an arcane blacksmith. That's definitely one of the plans. Mage, again. Mage is going to be the hard one, because I gotta figure out what... Mage is focused on damaging spells, but I don't want to limit them to just damaging spells, so they should be able to do stuff. It's who knows. Something I have to figure out later on. But yeah, there's also the joke of a necromancer healer kills and the brief. Oh yes, I love that short. That short is so bad. Listen, I know you just got killed, but don't worry, I'll keep fixing it. So you know the serial killer that's in town? That's I'm the local necromancer. I'm going to keep you alive. Just keep going around, living your normal life. Imagine the serial killer. He's going to be so freaked out that you are still alive after he kills you. Don't worry, if he kills you again, I will bring you back. I will keep fixing it. Because I love torturing the serial killer. Such a silly story. I love it so much. It's the reason why I have a Lich that's not evil in my campaign. I have Rory, the Lich, or Bone Daddy, as Hanyakuja has coined him, and he's a biologist. He's like, I chose to become immortal because I wanted to study the natural world and evolution of animals and plants for all of eternity. What's wrong with that? My books shall forever be updated and never out of date because I will be constantly saying what happens up to date. Roy Delancey, based off of John Delancey. Oh, for the love of the Celestial Six. Why do I have to deal with this? I wanted to watch the jellyfish die, so here I am. Pretty much, I'm here to watch this jellyfish go through its entire life cycle of 2,000 years. If I was still human, well, I would not be able to see it. I want to see it, though. Good times, good times. I have a lot of fun. NPCs in my D&D world. Sadly, I don't get to utilize too many of them because of where the players are currently, but, you know, it's fun. I've used a few, though. That's a few I've used. Anyway, what are we at? Been going for about an hour and 50 minutes. It's a little bit longer than I intended, but yeah, it's still a very good amount of time. So yeah, I'm gonna start wrapping things up here because, again, I've been going off and I'm kind of just talking in circles now, which is never really a good thing, but I will definitely keep... I'll definitely try and keep things up to date. I will definitely report on like ideas that I have, and when I start doing playtests for real and everything like that, I will maybe start doing the videos on going through the systems and everything like that. But again, a lot of it is trial and error. A lot of these special systems for combat I am testing out live in my D&D campaigns, and my players have already experienced none of them. The telegraphed attack system, the villainous action system, and of course my Wrath and Glory system, which I stole from a Warhammer 40k game, Wrath and Glory, because I did, and I liked it. I liked the Wrath and Glory system versus the standard, I give you advantage on a roll of your choice. It's like, you want to add a d6 to your roll? You can add a d6 to your roll. That's so yeah. One of these days I'm going to go through, start making these videos, but I think that's where we're going to end it for today. I will try and get this week's streaming schedule up on Monday at the correct time. I just have to sit down and figure out what I'm going to do this week. There may... And thank you for coming out here, Mr. Deputy. Hey, I hope you enjoyed it for today. I don't know if there will be D&D this week. I know that at least 2 of my players aren't going to make it, so I will have to run it by the rest of the players, see if they want to do something, or if I just make that day actual, like, another tabletop workshop day. Who knows? I might do that. I actually might do that this time. And keep an eye for the schedule tomorrow. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Remember to be kind to one another, and we'll see you guys next time.